Capital City Sunday.
Another key race on the ballot in Wisconsin this November, Wisconsin's 1st congressional district. Democrat Peter Barca and Green Party candidate Chester Todd are challenging incumbent Republican Congressman Bryan Steil. Here with me now is Peter Barca, candidate for Wisconsin's 1st congressional district. Peter, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Darielle. It's terrific to be back on this very informative show.
Thank you. You've said in the past that this current session of Congress is dysfunctional. You represented Wisconsin's 1st congressional district nearly 30 years ago. What do you think needs to change, and what would you do differently if elected in November?
Well, I have said it's a do-nothing dysfunctional Congress. This is the second year in a row they can't even get a farm bill passed, which for an agricultural state like Wisconsin is absolutely vital. I would be completely different than our current member of Congress because I've always worked successfully across the aisle to find common ground and to pass bills. I measure myself in terms of my ability to get things done.
Peter, in 2022, your Republican challenger, Representative Bryan Steil, won the district with 54% of the vote. This is obviously a Republican-leaning district, but what has been your campaign's focus, especially with just a little over a week left until the election?
And my focus has been in putting forward the key issues that are vitally important at this juncture in America, and making sure that people understand what's at stake here, because there's a tremendous amount at stake. Obviously, protecting Social Security and Medicare. My opponent's on a Republican study committee that would cut Medicare and raise the retirement age. Protecting reproductive freedom for women. He's for an extreme national abortion ban. He even voted against ensuring the right to birth control. Taxes, which are very important. I'm very focused on the middle class. As part of Governor Evers' cabinet as Secretary of Revenue, we gave over $1.5 billion in middle class tax relief. And that's what I would do in Congress, focus on getting more relief to the middle class and those struggling to get there that need it desperately, and to help small businesses. That's always been the engine that drove the economy. I was in charge of the Midwest for the SBA. I owned a business, so I know what it takes to meet a payroll and the kinds of steps we can take to make it better for small businesses and to grow and expand the middle class. I have a whole agenda around that.
I want to go back to your comments on abortion. Trump has said he would veto a national abortion ban. Your opponent, Congressman Steil, has said here on the show that a federal abortion ban is unlikely to come before Congress. I want to get your thoughts on the conversation around abortion, as this has been an issue that Democrats are working to galvanize voters on.
Well, reproductive freedom has been in place for almost a half century here. So obviously it's a vital issue for women. The government cannot effectively regulate this issue. I have a cousin that's an OBGYN doctor, and she tells me how women come in that are desperately sick, that cannot deliver a healthy child, in fact, and sadly, they have to wait until they're sick enough that they're almost going to die before they can help provide the medical care they so desperately need. My opponent is an extremist on this. He was one of the few Republicans that actually wrote an amicus brief to support ending Roe v. Wade. Celebrated the Dobbs decision as a great, victory for America, when we have an 1865 abortion law here in Wisconsin that is held up now in the courts, but who knows where that might go.
Peter, would you have supported the bipartisan border deal that stalled in the Senate earlier this year? And do you think there's a path forward on immigration and border security that both Republicans and Democrats can agree on?
Yes, thank you for the question. I would have not only supported it, I would have championed it, because we have 70,000 people in America that die every year because of fentanyl. We have 5 families that we're close with that lost children to fentanyl. So the idea that they waited a year to bring this bill up, when we clearly had a bipartisan deal that the Border Patrol supports and that President Biden said he would sign. And you can talk about this president versus that president, but only the Congress can appropriate the resources which are essential for giving more border agents, for having more equipment to stop the flow of fentanyl. And I think it's disgraceful that when you had a bipartisan deal that clearly initially got tremendous support, until some of the extreme leaders told them, well, don't pass it because we need an issue to run on. How cynical can you be?
Peter Barca, candidate for Wisconsin's 1st congressional district. Peter, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time and being on your show. Thanks for keeping your viewers informed on these key issues.